L is for the way.
At Petfix Club, we want to make owning a pet the best it can possibly be for you and the one you love. Enjoy personalised online pet care at petfixclub.com. Start your free trial today. Love your pet? Join the club.
Hi there, I'm Pete Wedderburn, also known as Pete the Vet, and I'm here tonight with my regular Wednesday evening 7 o'clock IGTV session, which I do as one of the co-founders of Petfix, petfix.com, which is a really exciting new website which aims to make high quality veterinary information and advice to everybody, everywhere, all the time. So that's why I'm here. And as part of giving people good quality advice about animals, I try to have guests from different parts of the animal world doing different things which are really interesting, and it's really enjoyable to learn all about what they're up to. And tonight is no exception. And I'm joined tonight by Cathy, and Cathy is the manager and founder of My Lovely Pig Rescue. I suspect some of you have probably heard about My Lovely Horse Rescue because they've been doing great work for a long time with horses. But My Lovely Pig Rescue is an outbranch of that, which we're going to learn more about. And basically, My Lovely Pig Rescue is based in Kildare in Ireland. And what they do is they take in rescue pigs. They're the only place in Ireland, as far as I know, which is totally focused on taking in rescue pigs. They take in commercial pig breeds as well as pet pig breeds, and they're abandoned, abused. Any pig in trouble, they will take care of it. And their aim is to show everybody in Ireland how smart pigs are, what intelligent and remarkable creatures they are. And I'm so with them on that. I just love pigs, and I think. And there she is. And look, she's in a field. Hello, Cathy.
I'm in a field. Hi.
Nice to meet
Thank you so much for asking us to come on.
It's great that you can join us.
Yeah, people usually are a bit mystified about pig rescue and find it kind of funny, which I can't help it hurting our feelings a little bit because I think it's really important, and it's lovely that you think it is too.
I think it's fantastic, and I mean, I didn't know you existed. I'm afraid I should have done, but that's what this is all about introducing people to you and telling them what you're up to. So can you tell us well, first of all, where are you standing? How come you're in a field?
I'm standing in our 10-acre field where our outdoor pigs are. So we have, I don't know if I can turn it around, but we have, I don't know if you can see here, there's Troy and his wallow. So this is where the healthy, hardy pigs live outside from about, depending on the type of spring and summer we had, they can live outside from June to November. So we have 16 enclosures out here, and they all have a nice big space, lots of grass and roots, and wallows and shelters and tarps when it's hot.
Wow.
The stress levels are still high. They're not designed for living indoors. But in Ireland, you know, we have to have, unless we had hundreds of acres, that's the way it has to be. But then when they come out here in June, sometimes May, if it's a good spring.
So can you tell me, how long has My Lovely Pig been going on? And tell me the background to it. What's the whole story? Tell us how the whole thing started.
We started the same way that we started with horses 10 years ago, which was we were the three founders, myself, Martina, and Debbie, were volunteering with dog rescues. And then suddenly it became apparent that there was a horse problem. And in the same way, then we set up My Lovely Horse Rescue, and we discovered that there was a pig and a sheep and a goat problem, but pigs a lot. It seems to be a very kind of hidden problem, you know. So about 6 years ago, a friend had a couple of pigs, and they accidentally bred, which happens an awful lot because there's not a great knowledge of castration and neutering pigs, and a big fear about it too, because it can be dangerous. But I ended up with 2, and then straight after that, there was a pig in need via another rescue. My vet John Drum admitted that he didn't know a lot about pigs, but he did his best for Mrs. Wobbles, and he did great. You know, she needed a catheter into the tummy she had a broken shoulder. She had abscesses on all of her feet. And just she was an absolute state, and she was in shock when she arrived. So it threw us into this heightened state of, okay, let's learn as much as we can to save this girl. And it's because I think we had a very understanding and compassionate vet alongside us. We had the confidence to open our doors to more, and you know, the more complicated, the more we learned. And so that was about 6 years ago. And now here on my lovely pig farm, we have about 59 pigs, and there's more pigs on the other farm.
59 pigs.
And a very long waiting list as well.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Now, how much space do you have?
How much space do they need? Sorry.
How much space do you have?
Well, we have 13 acres here. So this 10-acre field serves the pigs who can be outside very well. We have an old folks block, which is a shed and outdoor area dedicated to oldies with rubber matting. We have a central yard where the pigs who need a bit more care are in, say, chronic problems. Then we have the winter barn, where pigs with behavioural issues maybe, or pigs who've just been castrated waiting for their testosterone to come down. And then we have our all-weather areas. And roughly, it's very hard to tell what space you need, because with this awful weather in Ireland and changeable weather, you could have a beautiful field that looks gorgeous in the summer, but then come winter it floods. And if you don't have a plan B, then you're banjaxed. That's the main problem we have with people getting pigs. That's why they end up giving them away, because it's very, very hard to keep them if you don't have it planned out well with other options.
Yeah, we live in about an acre, and we have some hens and ducks, and we looked at getting a couple of pigs at one stage, but what we learned very quickly was that they really are pretty difficult to manage without destroying your land, basically, because they love to put their nose in the ground and run along the place and digging it up and making a fantastic mess, which is great if you don't mind that. But if you've got if it's your wee house on your wee garden, you don't really necessarily want to have a pig there, do you?
Exactly. It's kind of understanding the behaviour and doing your research before you invest, and promoting the breeding and selling of pigs, because there's too many pigs being, you know, bred in. I mean, it's very like the puppy industry, you know.
You know what? The same expressions are used. They talk about teacup dogs, teacup puppies. Yeah. And I can't stand the term teacup pigs, because there is no such thing. The smallest, and who am I telling? But the smallest pig is going to be the size of a Labrador, basically, and there's nothing teacup about that.
Yeah, it's the biggest problem. I know there's an awful lot of. It's worse in the States. You know, people are, advising people to underfeed them. So there's all these problems with these little piglets. If you underfeed it, it won't grow big, and just awful stuff going on. But yeah, we have huge pigs who were bought as micro pigs. And the people would have them in their houses, and then they're so inquisitive, so they're biting through wires and going crazy, because their natural behavior, which they're entitled to, is to stick their nose in dirt. That's their natural instinct. So yeah, it's a bit of a problem.
And do you keep them there till they die of old age, basically?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a rehoming program, but it's pretty robust. You have to have a herd number, and to get a herd number, we can work with you to make the right environment, have a plan B, do piggy training, and then the department will come out and see if you're suitable. We've been working with the department to improve that process of giving herd numbers to people who are who have the right place for pet pigs and outdoor pigs, which is great, but it's a long journey. and And that usually filters out 90% of the people. You know, the harder it is, the more time they have to change their mind, do a bit more research. And then those who stick with us, say the 10%, they are really gung-ho about it and really interested in the behaviour, get the fencing right, get the areas right, and then the pigs are never owned by them. We do the same with goats and sheep. It's long-term foster, and if anything goes wrong, we're involved in the vet care and we'll pay for anything expensive. And so you can imagine it's very slow. I mean, 1 year it might be 4 pigs are adopted.
Yeah.
So the rest, yes, they live here forever. Yeah.
But that in itself is a huge amount of work. Like, we've got, like, I don't know, like 10 hens and ducks, and it's kind of busy just looking after them, but you've got like 60 pigs. That is a huge amount of work every day.
Yeah, well, so we have volunteers here. We use the platform Workaway, which is great. So you have a page and you say, we're a pig rescue. We're very interested in pig behaviour and animal rights, and this is what you're working for. And so it attracts the same type of people who really are interested in moving through life in that vein. And it's a whole ethos, and we have a cracking team, and we get amazing people, and it is very hard work. You can imagine in the winter, we poo pick every area, same as horsey keepers would, poo pick everywhere, a lot of enrichment during the winter, because they go crazy when they're not doing something. And that's the hardest thing to get into people's minds, is that these pigs need to be, see, he's there, it's 7 or 7:15 and he's rooting. And you can't fight the natural behaviour, and if you do, you have upset and damaged and potentially dangerous pigs. So everyone is on board with that, and they're fantastic. And we couldn't survive without volunteers. We couldn't do it. We actually couldn't.
How many volunteers would you have there at any one time then?
7 is the sweet spot, plus me. Yeah. So it would be, so we have the farm divided up into 4 areas. So there's the yard, which is kind of intensive care, old block, front, and the field. And you try and have 1 or 2 people per area, and then people need their days off. So.
And what would their typical day be like for a volunteer? How would it go?
It starts at 8:30, and because pigs are from, you know, big herds, they get very excited over food, and the decibels go up. So we all make sure we're all leaving the feed room with our buckets of food at the same time, and put it in their mouths quickly. That is the key. And then once, you know, 9:15, everyone has got the food in their mouths. We have horses here, sheep, goats as well, and dogs and hens, but it's mostly pigs. So doing feed, enrichment, mucking out medications, and moving pigs. Some pigs just have day paddocks who have compromised immune systems, so they go in. So we're moving, and then a nice big lunch, and then feeds and enrichment, final medications in the evening. That's it.
Wow.
It's nice in the summer.
There must be some days in the winter when it's pretty blooming tough, I'd say.
Yeah, it is hard. I think the hardest thing is if you're like, we all do this because we feel the stress of animals, and we want to stop the stress. And so in wintertime, I just don't think this life is conducive to happy pigs unless you have loads of land. And being a rescue, we want to do the best for them, but we're aware that we don't have hundreds of acres. So we work very, very hard to give them everything. But the biggest thing is, you know, same as with horse rescue, get people going, oh, my lovely horse, I want to retire him with you. And same as a pig. And the best place for an older animal is with their owners, if they're working hard to, you know, the hardest thing is to move an animal to a rescue, because even though it feels like heaven and everything, for us it feels, I wish they had humans of their own, you know, who just, their daily job was to love on them and give them everything they need. So yeah, I wish there wasn't a need for rescue.
Yeah. And we kind of touched on rescued pet pigs, but what about commercial pigs? Do you rescue those as well?
Yeah, we have commercial pigs here. Troy there has his ducktail and clipped teeth. We have a number of them. They seem to be making their way out to people who are getting, say, commercial pigs to clear their land. But then when they've cleared the land, what happens? There are kids ending up with piglets. We had 2 piglets come in, Jimmy and Michael, and they were handed into a dog pound. The grandparents insisted they gave them up. They were 4 weeks old, ducktails and clipped teeth. Don't know what's happening, why they're ending up, where they are. And they're incredible. The commercial pigs have all the same behavioral traits as any of these pigs here. The only thing is they're kind of the racehorse of the pig. They're designed to metabolize food quickly and put on muscle, and so their minds are quicker, so they need more enrichment and they need more stimulation. And it's the cruelest trick in humanity, I think, that it's those pigs who end up in warehouses to end up on our plates.
No, Cathy, it's Cathy. The pig industry is the bit of Irish livestock farming which I find really, really hard to tolerate. Is just so wrong, and most folk don't realise this. Unfortunately, bacon is very, very popular in Ireland. But if you go into an Irish supermarket, you'll find it. Well, I don't need to tell you. If you try to find free-range bacon, it's actually very, very hard to find. And what you can find, often it's from Denmark or something. Because, but whatever. The way that pigs are kept, as you say, in warehouses, and like, I'm sure you know this as well. But I'll talk about it because I think it's important that other people realise this. It's against European law to routinely dock pigs' tails, to cut off their tails. That's against European law. Yet it happens in 99% of Irish pig farms. It happens routinely, and they say we do it for welfare reasons, because if we don't do it, they bite each other's tails. But the reason they bite each other's tails is because they're so fucking stressed and bored out of their minds that the tail of a pig beside them looks like something that's more fun than just sitting there getting bored out of their minds, and so they bite it. And so, anyway, they shouldn't be kept. They shouldn't be kept in Ireland. It's just
they shouldn't, and it's how it's being done everywhere as well. And I'm so glad you're the one saying it, and I'm not, because I'm always the one saying it. But laws are being broken, and the labeling system is not truthful, and people are we're very good at cognitive dissonance. We're excellent at bypassing the reality. I think we all know in our hearts that it's not great, because we don't see pigs running around the Irish fields. So where are they all? Yeah. They're not outdoors. And exactly, it's like when I got into pigs, I was going, tail docking. No, dogs have their tails docked and it's not so bad. It's not about the act of docking their tails, it's why they do it. And the injuries they sustain because of overstocking are so horrendous, and the condition of the pigs, mentally and physically. Now there obviously they vary depending on who's looking after them. But the reason they're all docking their tails is because they can't find out a way of keeping as many pigs in those conditions without them chewing off each other's tails and ears and sticking their noses into each other's flanks. And it's an awful thing. We could talk about it for ages, but I suspect this should be a more positive chat. But that's why.
I think it's important that everybody out there realizes this, though, because people eat bacon and ham without realizing where it comes from, and they should look into that. And anyway, but you're right. Let's talk.
They should look into it, because if there was a debate, I mean, obviously, I live with and love pigs, so I would never eat them. But if I had, when I was younger, if I'd gone into somewhere and not had the reply of no, there's no free range, poor care. I wouldn't have looked into it. I would have probably carried on and been supporting outdoor bred pigs and not gone down this path. But the fact that there just isn't enough means that there's not a supply, there's not a demand from the public.
That's it.
And I obviously I don't want to encourage anyone to eat pigs because I love them, but I don't want them to live in factories. And people are going to keep eating it.
So you'd rather people ate free-range pigs than no pigs at all? No, than standard bacon and ham that you buy in supermarkets.
I know that people are going to eat it, and I just wish there was more of a demand for where is this animal coming from? What are its conditions? Is this label trustworthy?
Yeah.
Because there's false advertising going on. So so just look into it. That would be my plea.
But listen, can we let's leave that really sad subject because I think it upsets quite a lot actually.
I know.
Tell us about your pig's behaviour and about what the work you've been doing, because I think this is really interesting. Because they're such intelligent creatures.
They're just beautiful. I mean, you go into it thinking, oh, they're as intelligent as dogs. They're so different to dogs, and you look at a dog's natural behaviour. Say, if we're looking at the 5 freedoms, displaying natural behaviour for a pig is constantly looking for food, because they in the wild they would be looking for very low calorific routes, and so that panic is in them to get the food. So that's why they're so eating like pigs. But the problem is people then overfeed them because they go, oh, look at him, he's so funny, he loves his food. But we're feeding them calorific food. So one of the things we train is diet, and we make up a just very nice high fiber, little bit of protein, minerals, some supplements, but it's mostly beet pulp, which every horsey person would have, and barley, and then you can add some extra things to make sure they're getting what they need. Then that's only in the morning, the evening. Then there's another 23 hours to go. Where's the food? What do I do? So we have silage. So we buy huge big coffin wrapped up things of silage, which is lovely and smelly and sugary. And we'll give everyone a huge big pile. Say if there's 2 or 3 pigs living together, like Troy here lives with his companion, they in the winter would get probably 3 or 4 piles, because their natural behaviours, there's always a dominant, there's always someone on the receiving end of being submissive. So you have to make sure you're not making someone fight for their right to have their enrichment. So they'll get silage, and then sometimes we soak beans, if we can source them from a farmer who's had that in his field, or barley and oats, and put lots of that through it. So first, excellent treat is the barley, and then they'll chew and suck on the silage for the rest of the day until it's gone, and then we top up. We also use treat balls and wobble kongs, which are the dog treats, because they'll roll that around. So anything where they have to work for it and then get a little hit from finding food will keep them happy. If they don't have that here, we don't have a dense stocking problem here, but we still would have a problem of them going into a bit of a depression in winter, because they don't have the freedom to explore and roam and root. So we just have to keep the food coming, keep the entertainment coming, make sure they're happy, not displaying any stereotypies. So another thing very, very strong with horses, and who haven't been able to have a stimulated life, same with pigs, stereotypy. It's something that needs to really be looked at. Commercial pig.
What sort of stereotypies do you see?
We'll see a lot of belly nosing. So it's all to do with the nose. It's all, I think, to do with pigs who haven't gotten to complete their nursing stage with their mums. So if they have a natural life and they're nosing the teat and getting milk, and so it's an act that they receive a positive hit from. If they haven't completed that, when they're in stressful situations, they'll go back to that behaviour. And so we'll see a pig doing it on another pig. And it's okay here, because we can go, oh, there they are, let's up up this or up that or change them or move them. But in an environment where that isn't taken note of, that'll cause lesions on the receiving end of the pig and cause great injury. We see them nosing their food. So at high stress, when it's feeding time and everyone's very excited, and I've finished mine, I'll keep nosing that. We don't see shamming. We don't see that because no one's crated up. So they have lots to do. Other stereotypies, say in factories, would be just playing with the water because there's nothing else to do. I mean, it's very upsetting when you look into it, the purpose of stereotypy, what the reason it's there and why it's there. So
I remember many years ago, over 20 years ago, I went to Dublin Zoo and there was a polar bear then, and a polar bear was exhibiting the most awful stereotypy. It was just going backwards and forwards like this.
Yes.
And it was doing this for hours. And I wrote a letter then to the zoo director at the time, and he sent me a reply. I found his reply very upsetting because what he was saying was, he said, look, it's good that they're exhibiting that behavior because it helps them deal with the stress that they're feeling. But that's kind of a backwards thing, isn't it? The point is they shouldn't be feeling the stress in the first place. You know?
Yeah, it's looking down on the problem instead of getting to the source. Oh no.
Is there a pig there?
Sorry, what happened there?
I think you got nudged by a pig or something.
No, I think it's notifications nudge their way in. Yeah, the trouble, there's another example, which is, say, for ear biting. People are now looking at, there's research going into finding out what bacterias are causing necrotic flesh in ears, as opposed to there would not be necrotic, dead flesh in a pig's ears unless someone wasn't biting him, and there wouldn't be someone biting him if the conditions were better. So instead of coming from the bottom up, they're going from the top and going, oh, what do we vaccinate this with? So yeah. But anyway, more fun things about behaviour.
Yes.
Their relationship with each other is very interesting. If you, say, have two pigs in a field and one of them gets a thorn in their foot or some injury, they have to come into the yard. The other pig, if he was a submissive, goes, brilliant, I'm at the top now. I'm not going to give this position up. So the pig who's come into the yard for treatment, after, say, 3 days, goes back out and he's not allowed into the house. He has to earn his right to get back into that house. And this means that we have to, where do I have one? We have to add attachments onto the houses. So if someone gets sick, has to come in, be treated, when they're reunited, there has to be a second house there for about 3 nights. Then they work their stuff out. But if they grow up together, say a large landrace pig and a small pig, they're buddied up when they're the same age and same size. Then one of them gets bigger. In this case, Sam was the submissive and the tiny guy was dominant, and they maintained that relationship up until Sam got sick, had to be separated. Now he's like, actually, I'm huge, you can't boss me around. and that dynamic has changed. But the thing is, it's constantly changing, because then when someone gets older and sicker, you're going to have to watch out for that pig. They're not going to mind each other. That pig will get ousted out. They are amazing animals. They love attention, but they don't mind out for each other in that way, usually. Some are meanies, some are sweeties. But that's a common thing, that as they get older, someone gets, pushed around and it exacerbates some problems. So that's something we try and help people with as well.
Tell me, do you think when the pig dies, do the other pigs grieve its death? Have you noticed that at all?
Yeah, we had Wilbur, my lovely horse's first ever pig, an incredible boar. He was never castrated, he was too old. But he had his harem of pigs over in the other farm. And when he got very, very sick, when John the vet would come, his girl who loved him the most, she would not leave his side. And as you know, probably, I don't know if you have this, when you go somewhere, the animals know you're a vet. They smell it on you. They know by your demeanor. It's like, vet, the vet's here! And they leg it. and she stuck by him, and she just would keep her head kind of by his head and go, "This is my boyfriend, please don't do anything to him." And then she grieved beside him. So yeah, there are cases where where there is actual, you know, sincere bonding and love. And we've a long way to go. There are pigs who've come in here as piglets. We've yet to get to the end of their natural life, and loads more to learn. Loads more to learn.
And you do kind of outreach of teaching people about pigs, don't you? And how do you actually go about doing that?
Well, one of the forums is just when people want to adopt a pig, they'll do piggy training. Sometimes they just love pigs. There are people out there who love the idea of pigs and want to get to know them, and they'll do say come up for half a day and we'll do piggy training with them. But the main one is training with the Department of Agriculture for their veterinary inspectors.
Yeah.
It was set up by John O'Gorman, who's retiring this year, and he really, really didn't want to leave without establishing some training into real big pig behaviour, because the trouble is it's very hard for vet students to get placements in piggeries, and a lot of them want to do pig placement and behaviour somewhere where the environment is not as what they would find upsetting. So you do have vets working in the practice who never really have gotten to see pigs in a natural environment where they're behaving normally, where they're not biting you. And it was incredible because they'll come here and they're, you know, compassionate people, but they don't understand why I would sit on the ground with the pigs and not be afraid that I'd be attacked, because happy pigs don't want to do, they've no interest in doing that. You know, they're like, there they are, I have all my stuff, everything's fine, I might get a scratch. That's as simple as it gets. And then with UCD, the vets big handling and learning how to inject them, you know, kindly, no restraint, nutrition in the environment, and illnesses that will come up, and getting illnesses before they develop. Even simple as taking a pig's temperature is very hard if you haven't got handling down, and you're going somewhere where there's say there's a stressed pig and they have to be restrained, and restraining is very dangerous for pigs because they go into shock so easily. So it's great now that there's a facility. I mean, it's my home, it's not a facility, but it's a place where people who are going out into the world to help animals can come and see pigs in a more natural environment. It's not a natural environment, they're not in their herds, they're not roaming, but it's better.
That sounds great. And listen, if somebody wanted to be a volunteer with you, how would they go about doing that?
We generally just stick to Workaway because it's review based. I do sometimes take someone who pleads and begs and annoys me enough, but it's tricky because it's easier for it's quite an intensive workload here, and with the Workaway platform I can see who they've worked with before, how they've gotten on, and what they enjoy. So for the moment, that's just how we're doing it. If you're a vet student, you can come and work. And otherwise you can just beg. And there are people who just do come once a week. And sometimes they bring their dads along to do some strimming, and that's a huge help. But yeah, we have to be quite careful with it. It's like it's a specific job and specific skill set. You have to be cool and calm.
Yes. And you know what, when I hear you talking about everything that you're doing, it strikes me that it's really expensive. Like, you must have to put quite a lot of time into fundraising as well, because like that's a lot of pigs to feed, and pig feed's expensive apart from everything else. So how do you manage the money side of things?
Yeah, it's incredibly expensive. So my lovely horse rescue, we're in our 10th year now. Like, we have to appeal to people for standing orders. Like, that is the main thing that allows us to know what the coming months will bring, allows us to budget. Like through the pandemic, people withdrew they had to. They didn't have money coming in. We understand that. And luckily, our suppliers were so understanding, and we were able to keep going. We didn't have to close our doors. We remained an emergency service.
Yes.
My Lovely Horse Rescue and My Lovely Pig. We're not as busy, obviously, as the My Lovely Horse Rescue because they're huge. So we just kept on keeping on and making sure that the money that trickled in we paid off. But now it's fundraising. So donating online is the main thing. It used to be shaking buckets on Grafton Street, but that obviously had to stop. So we've found other ways, but it really is. We have to be able to grow because there is a constant crisis going on. My Lovely Horse Rescue have 4 farms. This one, the main farm, one in Cork, one in Kildare, and we would like to have a centre in every county. We're working with the guards now, working with the councils, but none of them are paying us. So it really is depending on everyone just doing 7 days a week.
And your Facebook page is quite active, isn't it?
Yeah, it's active because the farm is so active, and the outreach programs are great, and the the work that goes on in the community is fantastic. It's very, very hard to say no, and we find that we don't really say no, and we try and make it work. But we do need, I guess the thing is, it's a public service, and our supporters have been fantastic at keeping us going and not letting us get into trouble. And I guess just, please keep doing that.
Right. Listen, there's a couple of questions, Cathy, that are coming. I'm just going to see what they are and put them up on the screen.
Yeah.
So here's the first one from Peg. What was the trigger that got you involved in pig rescue? You're doing amazing work. Yeah, was there one particular moment? Was there a particular pig you happened to bump into, or what made you do it?
Yeah, it was Mrs. Wobbles. Mrs. Wobbles was the lady I told you about. She came in with the broken leg, abscesses.
Right, she was the one.
Yeah, Mrs. Wobbles. Well, she was also a beast because she was being fed up to slaughter. She was the one, and her injuries were so horrific, and she made it through. And I couldn't believe what a resilient little girl. And everyone who came, there's old sayings that people say, old farmers will say, sick pig is a dead pig, and write it off, as opposed to, well, nursing is nursing. Nursing is important and always valuable. So she made it through. And then here we were going, this has been a journey and an intensive care. And now we have this little thing that is representative of a problem. A lot of backyard breeding, and we have to get on top of this. So, and then I wonder, was it just a lot of people on Instagram with pet pigs in dog carriers invited an influx of breeding to go on, and very quickly, as soon as the balls drop, they know that pigs aren't for them. And so it must have been coinciding with an influx of unwanted pigs. But Mrs. Wobbles was the one.
And is she still around?
Yeah.
Or is she still around? Or?
Yeah, she just went through major surgery. She's an older pig now, and she had an infection in her uterus.
Oh,
and I think she was she had to have a full hysterectomy, and she's the old lame pig who has problems with groups of people because she was abused, and UCD were incredible. And so there's been quite a lot of noise about her on our little Instagram page. Oh my goodness. So Mrs. Wobbles, you can check her out.
And somebody is saying thank you for
Look at the flies around him. He's been in his wallow, so he's covered in goo-goo juice. Hi, don't rub on me, you're filthy.
Somebody says thank you for saving Dame Judy and Jane Maggie. You were amazing to them.
Oh yes, Dame Judy and Dame Maggie. They have been actually an incredible woman who's doing great with them, and they're amazing pigs. very dominant coonie with a huge mouth and a very submissive shy girl who used to bring pig behaviour is, I'll tell you something else. She used to, when I gave her enrichment and I was still standing there maybe taking a video of her wanting to say here she is, she'd see I was still there, she'd pick some up and she'd come over and she'd drop some at my feet, very like a nanny dog or something like that. Yeah, once in a while there's just some who are so special.
Amazing. And somebody, Ava Kelly, has asked, how old are your oldest ladies and which pigs have you had for the longest? Well, I suppose Mrs. Wobbles, the one you've had the longest, but how old's your oldest pig?
Well, it's really hard to age a pig. UCD haven't been able to age them past, a few years. I can tell from arthritis when they're old, even though sometimes they have early onset arthritis. I would say our oldest pig is Winston, who's a large white, and he does have arthritis, but he manages it very well. He's a hardy pig. If they're healthy, like hopefully Troy is healthy, he's good conformation, he's getting good nutrition, hopefully he'll last to 15 years. But they come in, I don't know what age they are, unless someone has a certificate. Otherwise, it's an old pig. It's an old pig. We don't know. Ava actually is, Ava's great. She asked us to take her piggy Gus, and she went and got a herd number before she got him. She had him in her house and in the garden, and he was like family, and he bonded very strongly with her. And then she had to move home, and she got in touch with us, and she comes and visits him all the time, and he loves her so much. But she is a very good piggy owner. I hope she gets pigs in the future.
And listen, there's one more question here. Somebody says, I adore pigs. I presume one would have to have a lot of space to adopt a pig, but how would I go about starting that process?
The best thing is if you want to do the piggy training. So you can come and see all the different enclosures we have here, the different setups, and you might find that one or two might suit your setup. We have different fencing for different pigs. There's electric for these guys. There's just stud rail for others. There's just a bit of mesh for others. They're all very, very different. And once you start looking into the different breeds, it might be that a Kuni is for you. They don't have the long snout, so they're not as destructive. But they're very affectionate and funny. I would say do your research, see what other people have, do the piggy training course with me, and you'll soon know if you have the right space. And you might need to do a little work maybe to save you the back-breaking work in winter, going, I wish I'd put some dry standing here, or wish I'd put this shelter somewhere else. But we have that information on our Facebook page. There's a post that's how do you call it, pinned, and in there's a video I did of environment and one of fencing, so that'll show you. Yeah, maybe you don't need to do the piggy course, just look at those videos. Done myself out of some work.
Listen, Cathy, I could happily sit and talk to you all night because it's really, really interesting. You're such a refreshing attitude to pigs, and you clearly love them dearly, and you've made them your passion, and you're doing wonderful things for them. It's fantastic. But we've been talking 45 minutes, so that's kind of a long time for people to be watching.
Yeah.
But if anybody wants to know more, do go to Cathy's website, which is My Lovely Pigs, is part of the My Lovely Horse Rescue website. So you go to mylovelyhorserescue.com and you'll find out all about My Lovely Pigs. And if you want to donate, then you'll find there's a donate section on their website. And I'd encourage you to do that because it's such a great cause. And we're going to write up a blog on this, on the whole thing tomorrow morning, along with this video, Cathy, so you can see it. And I'll share it to my followers, and you share it to yours, and people can learn more about My Lovely Pig. And I just want to commend you on what you're doing. I just think it's fantastic. It's so inspiring. You're somebody you're obviously living your personal passion and dream, and it's just great to see that because you're making a difference in the world.
I never thought I'd be the studious type, but I love learning about pigs, and I love that My Lovely Horse Rescue, everyone, is passionate about pigs, and they, everyone is behind every animal, though, so wherever it is great that we're a team who are kind of working together and going for it.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for being so encouraging about pigs. It's really lovely.
No,
and I hope there's 11 people on. I hope they all go and love, go onto our site and enjoy looking up the pigs. The Instagram is the most active one, the My Lovely Pig Instagram page, because I can't get into my Facebook at the moment. So go to the Instagram.
Okay. Lovely, Cathy. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now, I want to come and see your place now one of these days. I want to come out. We'll find some television to follow us, and we'll make more publicity for you somehow or another, because it's a great cause.
That would be great.
A great cause. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
all right.
Cathy.
Maybe see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
L is for the way.
At Petfix Club, we want to make owning a pet the best it can possibly be for you and the one you love. Enjoy personalised online pet care at petfixclub.com. Start your free trial today. Love your pet? Join the club.